There's growing concern over a spike in mass shootings across the country. We've seen attacks in taverns, at birthday parties, in private homes, in hostels, even underground in disused mines. Let's discuss this all now with Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies. Mr. Els, thank you so much for your time. I note that your colleague at ISS, Dr. Johan Burger, wrote an article for News 24, was quoted saying that South Africa is fast becoming the mass murder capital of the world. Do you agree with him?
Good evening, Sally. Yes, I would agree with Dr. Burger. He also mentioned that we are becoming much like countries like Colombia. South Africa being bracketed as a mafia state with the likes of Brazil as well as Italy itself. It's troublesome because that's one of the hallmarks of a mafia state. But South Africa also ranks 5 in Africa when it comes to the crime index. So things are not really looking good on the crime field for South Africa at the moment.
We've had an uncontrollable gun problem for a number of years now. Are we reaching a point of no return? Are we reaching a sort of tipping point, a critical mass, when things are just going to get almost impossible to control?
I think we are heading there. Fortunately, as Dr. Burger also mentioned, we are not there yet. But if we do not act fast, we might end up there. And that is really something that we need to look at. We've had, since 1994, we've had some new gun laws. We've had some various initiatives where we thought that we're going to curb the spate of gun violence. But, the opposite happened. So that is just an indication that we will have to revisit our strategies. We will have to revisit, go back to the drawing board and say, what have we been doing wrong? What have we been doing right? And we will have to come up with a solution very fast. Otherwise, things are getting out of hand.
Why do you think we're seeing a rise in mass shootings? I mean, we know that we have an extraordinarily high murder rate in this country. But would you say that the mass shootings, people shot dead at birthday parties, whether it's a conflict over stock theft or it's gang-related, we're just seeing more and more of them, it seems. Is it true? Have you looked at the stats for mass killings? Are we on an exponential rise?
We are. If you look at your gun violence, especially from 2016 to 2021, we saw that was almost a 55% increase on a day-to-day basis with gun violence that led to murders. So we see that the prime concerns is your crime intelligence or the lack of it. He also mentioned that your crime intelligence has been slipping away and is in shambles for many years now. And, for law enforcement, for your policymakers to make policies and to enforce these type of things, they have to work on intelligence. If they don't have intelligence, we call it that they are working blind. And currently, to a great extent, we are working blind when it comes to these things because we cannot prevent these type of incidents if we do not have credible and good intelligence networks. That needs to be reestablished. That all happened, of course, due to a great extent if you look at the Multi-disciplinary report, the state capture really hurt the intelligence fraternity. Yeah. We have to rebuild that. And another challenge that you also have, your detectives. It's a specialized field of investigation, and we are really lacking the manpower, the resources, and the skills at the moment. It seems to me that there are so many of these detectives that are out there really working their butts off, but at the end of the day, they just seem to be overwhelmed with this tremendous increase in this type of incidents.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the best will in the world, if you're absolutely overwhelmed with cases, you're not going to make any breakthroughs. You mentioned that we need to re-establish the rule of law and that crime intelligence units and other specialized units need to be re-established. We have seen success with kidnappings, and that's a specialized unit that seems to have been pulled together. That seems to be making inroads. But we've also heard from police that they are going to be setting up these crime intelligence networks to make sure that they're not working blind. What action actually has happened in re-establishing some of those specialized units?
Yeah, you see, during the time of General Levy, he actually dismantled all of these specialized units, and and the rest is history. So what has happened? They have started to re-establish that. They are busy establishing a lot of that, but that is not something that's going to happen overnight. Because normally in a specialized units like that, you need specialized people, you need people that they invest in with specialized skills and training. They also need specialized equipment, etc., and resources in order to be successful. But on the other hand, what we also see what happened, and you just mentioned is your multidisciplinary task teams that are being established. They work, especially you can see the results that happened with the tavern shootings, where there were some quick results after they just threw resources and manpower and expertise, etc. And that includes your intelligence, that includes your forensics, that includes all your different specialized fields. And that is a very good model that should be followed. But at the end of the day, you've got so many, we only have so many resources. We will have to look at allocating more resources. We will have to equip our specialized people with even more. But that is not where it ends. You know, once you have arrested someone, once you have held a case, that is not where it ends. Then it needs to go to court. There is also a challenge. We need to re-establish the capacity within our judicial system in order to successfully prosecute these cases. Otherwise, it will all be in vain.
Yeah, so some signs that those specialised units are being re-established, but as you say, no quick fixes. Bearing that in mind, if you, on Thursday, we're going to hear from the President, State of the Nation address, what's the one thing you'd like to hear from him regarding this unacceptably high number of gun killings, whether they're mass shootings or one-on-one?
I think we will have to start, of course, with the political will that need to be demonstrated from him. So once he has demonstrated that political will and it's followed up by actions, we are really in a good way. Secondly, I think we need South Africa's got a lot of expertise. So they've got a lot of expertise of experienced people that are in the private sector, that are still in the police and the other agencies. I think we need to take hands, we need to sit down, we have to have an endowment, and we have to re-strategize on this whole thing. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same of what happened last year.
Yeah, it's a good point that you make. And we have seen some successes. You talk about multidisciplinary teams also with private security groupings coming together, working hand in hand with the police and investigators. In that way, we have seen some breakthroughs. So let's hope that we do see some solid plans coming through, because as you say, we are not yet at the tipping point where it gets completely out of control, but it is very worrying indeed. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I really do appreciate it. Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies there.